common, or I mean not the most common, they're one of the worst kinds of burns. I think there's actually a fourth degree burn, but they don't teach you how to treat that in Boy Scouts. So, for third degree burns, it's really bad where nerves can get damaged and they may not actually feel anything. So for example, if you have like the Bunsen burner and you stick your hand in there and leave it for like 5 seconds, you may not feel anything because it burns all your nerves. So, yeah. So you want to be careful with third degree burns. You don't want to touch it because then this may also cause like severe bleeding, which is something else you treat like differently. And so when you get third degree burns, you don't want to touch it. You want to get medical attention right away. And yeah, so you don't rinse it in water. You don't or the only thing you do is you put bandages on it, just like I did like with Brian's arm. So
does that make sense to provide a cover? Your skin is your largest organ, right? That acts as your biggest defense. So as soon as that barrier is penetrated, doesn't always the first line of it a cover, right? Cover always. Cool.
Yeah, and so that's to prevent infection because so much of your tissues are exposed due to the burn because your flesh has been burned away. And so you want to get medical attention right away and just make sure that they get there. They get the medical attention that they need.
So what are we talking about? A burn unit? Everybody knows what they focus specifically on burns and they have all the latest techniques to try. Sometimes I hear of old wives' tales of individuals not really understanding how to deal with burns, and immediately they say, rub fat on a burn. Does that sound awful? Don't ever do that, right? Keep the area clean and covered, right? Isn't that logical, though? Keep it clean and covered. It's your skin. It's your greatest barrier against infection.
Yeah, and that's another thing. For any burns, you don't want to put any like ointments, creams, or anything that's supposed to help with burns, unless you're like a medical professional, because those can actually harm it, and they can be difficult to take off your skin. So they're only kind of detrimental to your health. Okay, so the next thing we're going to talk about after burns is hypothermia. Oh no, heat stroke and heat exhaustion. Now, heat exhaustion and heat stroke are very similar. Heat exhaustion is simply the lighter version, the not as intense version of heat stroke. I've had personal experiences with heat exhaustion. It is not fun. It is not pretty. You feel like you're going to collapse on the ground. I can't imagine what heat stroke is like. But anyways, if you have a situation where you're out trick-or-treating, you have this giant costume, like you're a giant bear or something, you have all this fur on you. Okay, stop. And so you're sweating up a storm here, and then all of a sudden you feel dizzy, and then you're like stumbling, not like you're drunk, but you know, you're dizzy and you feel yourself sweating. That is probably heat exhaustion. If it gets in intense stages, it's heat stroke. So to recognize heat exhaustion, usually people are, so their skin may be like pale, clammy, or not cold, but they may be like drenched in sweat. They may feel like they're gonna throw up or vomit, and of course they're gonna be dizzy, and so they may be stumbling. So what you want to do for this is, for example, if you're wearing this giant bear costume, like I said, you want to take off the costume, okay? Make sure, hopefully they have clothes underneath, but it's rather that they live than, you know, public nudity. But anyways, what you want to do, okay, does somebody want to be my victim? Can I volunteer, please?
She's kind of dressed like a bear.
Okay, can be my victim. So we'll pretend like she's dizzy, out trick-or-treating. She's wearing this giant bear costume and she's like stumbling. Okay, and then as you can see, her skin is very pale. No, just pretend. And then she's got like, she's sweating, and she's feeling dizzy. So what you want to do is like, first you take off the bear costume, right? And you want to make sure that they're exposed to the night air. But in most cases, if it's like sunny, you want to move them to a shady place. So like, let's say there's like a giant tree. Let's pretend that the overhead's a tree. So let's go over here. This is and so you want to get them in the shade because you want to cool down their body temperature because currently their body temperature is really high and their body is overheating. So you want to get them in shade. Like I said, remove excess clothing. You can fan them or like just fan them if you have like a
Mug.
like a notebook. Yeah. And you also want to give them liquids, but you don't want to give it to them all at once, because if you have them start gulping water, it's gonna send their body into shock, and that's not good. So you just want to give them sips, just have them relax and sit down or lay down. Too much movement, of course, will generate body heat, because you exercise get hot. Yeah, so that's basically what you do for heat exhaustion. You also, like birds, want to kind of apply wet cloths to their forehead. So this comes the wet. So you just want to. Sorry. Yeah, it's supposed to be cold. Okay, so you apply wet compresses to their forehead or around their neck or hot areas to cool them down. Now, in severe cases of heat exhaustion, which is also known as heat stroke, your body is really overheating and it's really bad. Oh wait, one more thing about heat exhaustion. Once you give them water or you bring them to the shade, they should be recovering instantaneously. So once you taste that